Live from the Julius Arthur Leonard Studios in Charlotte, North Carolina, it's TC at Home, presented by Theater Charlotte. Hello, everyone. It's Chris Timmons. Welcome back to a special edition of TC at Home. It's been a while, but this evening we are celebrating Ron Law. And we've got some updates and some exclusive photos of the inside of Theater Charlotte as it stands right now. And we're going to talk a little bit about what lies ahead. So for those of you, I assume anybody watching right now knows that a little over a month ago, there was a fire at Theater Charlotte in the auditorium. And there've been a lot of pictures out there showing the damage, and really the photos I don't think do it justice. So we've got some a brief video to sort of show you what it really looks like inside the building at this point. The last couple of weeks, just to sort of get you caught up on where we are. For the past 2 weeks, we've been emptying the building of pretty much everything that's in there. And if you've been in our space, you know that there's a lot of stuff in there. So, any building as old as the old barn, as it's called on 501 Queens Road, it has accumulated a lot of stuff over the years. So it's taken a while, but we've gotten most of the contents out of there in preparation for cleaning the building to rid it of the smoke, smell, and soot, and then moving forward, the next step is prepping the areas that will need the most work, which is the auditorium and office spaces. So I'm going to share a brief video and sort of talk through it here as we go through, so you can kind of see what it actually looks like right now inside the building. So heading in through the stage door, as many of us have done over the years, if you've been on stage, if you've been on crew, you've come in through the back door, the stage door. And kind of everybody kind of, you can think about what that feels like, what you remember that being as you walk through, and you'll see just here in a second, as soon as that door closes, it's pitch black in there. It is absolutely pitch black. And it's also quiet, which I'll talk about again here in a second. It's just a strange feeling to be in that space when it's that dark and it's that quiet. And I think that has really what has resonated with me the most, is just how quiet that building is. And you can see as we head into our green room area, we've got the piano that's still there, but everything else has been kind of pulled out. And we head into one of the dressing rooms, which is one of the there's light coming in from outside. But look on the counters, you can see where there were items on the counter. That's not dirt, that's actually from the smoke. So this is actually probably the farthest place in the building away from the fire itself. But you could see the sort of rings of, where something, we had some wigs and some other things that were on the counter, and that's just what you're seeing is from the smoke. And then again, our next little section here is walking on stage. And again, this is what it looks like. If you're walking in that space, the light that you see on the right side is the lobby, and then there's a little light up towards the top of the screen, which is underneath where the fire was. But it's pitch black. It is, you can't see a thing. It's really kind of eerie. So again, we've seen all these photos that have been taken and posted, and but again, it's just it's a different feel in there right now. That's one of the things, even when we have a show going on, during the day when the staff has been there, there's a certain energy, there's a certain feeling that that building has. And right now it's void of that energy. So these next few photos are of the office space. This is actually looking into the box office. And again, this is kind of what things are, where we're at right now. This is looking the other direction. In our office space, getting prepped for stripping the walls down so that the smoke and fire can be treated. And I'm going to stop here because we're going to talk to Ron in just a second. But when he cleans out his office, he really cleans out his office. He took everything with him. So no, but again, you can see where there were things on the floor. And again, that's not dirt that you're looking at. It's actually a result of the smoke and soot in the building. And then you can see, again, how some of the walls are sort of weeping with, this is an interesting shot. So some of you may remember the old light booth, which is up in the upper part. It sort of lives above the office. We changed that several years ago, but for any of the old timers that used to climb that ladder up into the light booth, I sort of went up there a couple days ago just to kind of see what that area had looked like, and it's kind of creepy. It's like an old attic, and it's got all these all the plastic from the insulation is kind of just dripping down, and there were the speakers that were all melted together, and then you get to the stage. So this is looking out into the auditorium, which is now sort of a clean slate almost, but this is on stage looking out into the auditorium. Again, you can see how dark everything is. There's a light on there in the back, but all the seats have been removed. And this is just before the last row of seats have been removed. This is facing the other direction, facing towards the stage. So that's where we are. Again, we are looking at a couple of weeks, about a month or so of cleaning, scrubbing everything down, and moving on from there. So a lot of, again, we've been overwhelmed with the amount of support and the volunteer inquiries that have come through, and we will certainly get everyone involved as soon as it's safe and we're able to do so. Stay tuned. We look forward to having everybody sort of put their mark on us getting back in the building when the time comes. So I had saved this next spot. I was planning on introducing our next bit of programming at Theater Charlotte. We're in the works to kick off a new series that we're excited about, and we've got some details to iron out. So all I can do is tease you and say that we are going to make an official announcement either later this week or the following week about the next production. And we're excited to bring a new project to our Theater Charlotte friends and the community and artists. So again, stay tuned, and we've got some other things that we're excited to plan out for the rest of this season. We're moving forward. As somebody said, theater is not a building. It's just not. So we're going to keep doing what we do. So here we are, January 31st. It's the big day. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if today's the big day, if yesterday was the big day. We're going to bring on Ron Law.
Hello.
Yesterday was a big day.
It says down here, it says, be ready.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. Whoops.
Well, here you go.
There I go.
So yesterday was a big day, huh?
Yes, it was. It was incredible. And I have to tell you, as old as I am, I have never had a surprise party in my entire life.
That is shocking. What might be even more shocking is the fact that the theater community kept it quiet, because we have some big mouths out there, and we were shocked. Jackie and I talked about this. We were shocked that you did not have a clue. You had no idea.
No, I had no idea. And you know, theater people gossip all the time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, never had a clue. And it was really incredible to see so many friends and people that I've worked with over the years. It really warmed my heart.
So we're talking about, we had a drive-by little parade. Thank you for Ron. Actually, it was great that it happened yesterday and not this morning in the freezing cold rain.
Yes. Standing out there with an umbrella? No.
Right. So thank you to everybody who was able to come out and participate. Also, and we're seeing some of the comments now, but I know a lot of people have already shared comments and thoughts with Ron, but if you've got anything else that you wish to share, go ahead and put it in the comments. We'll post some things as we go. If you've got a favorite memory that you want to share, throw that up there. And if we can get to it during the broadcast, we will. And if not, there's plenty to read through as we. If we even had an appearance by Mickey Mouse, I don't,
Seriously, Hank West might be the craziest person that I know. But I don't know if I know him or not. I think I know him.
I don't know. He might tell you otherwise. Who knows?
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out where to start. And there's that show that we always talk about, that there's always the beginning is a very good place to start. Mm-hmm. So take us back, and I heard a little bit of this yesterday, but I don't think I really knew how you ended up at Theater Charlotte. Like, give us a little bit. What was your introduction to Theater Charlotte, and how did you end up there?
Well, I saw, or my wife Chase saw, that there was an opening. I think she saw it in the Observer, and I was working as executive director at what was then Carolina's Concert Association, that became whatever, I forgot now. But I applied for the job. I sent in my resume and letter and so forth. And I told my board president, I'm a theater guy. I've been a theater guy for a long time. So I applied. I was interviewed by a committee. I was then interviewed by the entire board in the lobby. I sort of felt like Watergate a little bit. I was sitting up there in front of everybody with this light and whatever. And I guess I did okay, because then I had dinner with Rick Thurmond, a good friend of the theaters and a good friend of mine now, who then took me out to dinner, talked to me and so forth. And then, as Pat Heiss pointed out yesterday, in March, it was announced that I was going to start, and I started on Monday. I believe it was Monday, June 13th or 15th. And I had been there a few days, and I was talking to as many theater people and so on. And Nancy Wilson, who is now our director of business and not community affairs, as I often say, but community services, said, "Uh-oh." And I was like, you start a job and you don't want to hear "uh-oh." And she said, "Well, we don't have enough money to make the first payroll." And I thought, oh, great. So I went home and I told my wife, Chase, who was holding our newborn baby, who had been born just the prior February. And I told her this, and she said, "Well, I guess you better find the money." And with the help of Rick Thurmond and Michelle Melcher and a very dedicated, very focused board with a lot of courage and so forth, we came up with the money to meet the payroll and then some. And then we were on a roll. So there you go. That's how it all started.
Yeah, I was, I think it was in a Charlotte magazine article years ago, and I remember Nancy being quoted as saying, "Oh dear."
Yeah, she was, because that's what she said. Oh dear. And I was like, oh dear.
What did you get yourself into?
Yes, yes. And it was a bit of a mess, but it all worked out and we moved on, onward and upward.
Yeah. So thinking about that and thinking about the recession and now the pandemic and a fire, what do you think out of all of those, what do you think was the most difficult challenge?
Well, I have to say it's the pandemic, because that prevented us from doing things live. The recession was tough because and that was Jackie Timmons. She just had started there as director of development, and suddenly Wachovia wasn't there anymore, and so on. But at least we could still produce. We could still do what we're there for, and that is to provide those opportunities for the community. Um, money is money, and you scrape around and do that. But with this pandemic, I think we have been, thanks to you and the staff and the board, we have been really, really, really in the forefront of staying out there, staying in front of the public. We utilized our parking lot. We utilized Jeff Taylor's church, and you could probably say the name of that church. I can't, because yes, because I'm verklempt right now a little bit. And we've utilized the internet with radio, classic radio shows, and so on. So we have continued to provide product, but it's been really difficult. I think this is the scariest and most difficult thing that the theater has faced, but we're doing a good job.
Yeah. So with regards to the pandemic, and I don't know if you and I have even had this conversation, but I'm curious, what do you think this is going to do to theater moving forward? And not just Theater Charlotte, but just theater in general. What do you see the pandemic's impact on theater?
I think theater will come back, and come back really strong, or strongly, whichever is correct. And I used to be a college professor, so I should know. But it's gonna require patience, and it's gonna require listening to people. I think I've had my first COVID shot, because that's what happens when you get to be my age, and I think once the vaccine is available throughout, and people can get the vaccine. I saw something the other day that said only 50% of Americans are wearing masks. And I don't want to get on that bandwagon, but you know what? If you wear a mask, there was somebody from CDC or something that said if everybody wore a mask, we could be over this in 4 months. People might have to come back to the theater and wear a mask. There's nothing wrong with that. I also looked at I believe it was a TCG survey that said the Southeast is probably farther ahead in being able to project when they can come back live. And I think if you folks listen to what the Theater Charlotte supporters have to say, and adjust to that, I think everything will be okay in a while. I don't think we're ever going to be rid of COVID, but we're never rid of the flu either. So, I'm pretty positive about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to take more than that to stop theater.
Yeah, I mean, look, theater is thousands of years old, and there's a lot of things that happened over 1,000 years. So this will not stop it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, the stories that come out of this, and just thinking about what productions we're going to see in a few years that were written during this time, and we may see a surgence of having a lot of people on stage, but then there's all these pieces that have been written now that we'll have less people and just different. I mean, the technology and the way people are using technology has been fascinating too. So it's going to be an interesting little venture here in a few years to see what carries over and what sticks and what doesn't. Is there anything that you set out to do at Theater Charlotte that you weren't able to accomplish, or something that you started and you maybe weren't able to finish? I don't, not a regret. I'm not talking about
No. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there something that stands out?
Yeah, there are things that because of things like the recession and so forth that put a halt to some things. Excuse me. A while back, we did a couple of shows performed in Spanish with English super titles, directed by Frank Dominguez from WDAV. Mm-hmm. They were very well received. One of the things that we kept hearing from the Latinx community was, when can we have a full production like this? These were staged readings. Mm-hmm. And so in my mind, I thought, well, we can do this. You know, the talent is there. The people the audience is there, but then the recession hit, and, you know, we had to focus specifically on our major programming. That's probably one of the things that I regret. I don't regret, but that we didn't get to follow through on. One thing that I hope that you continue to do is to really focus on diversity and equity, inclusion. We have had a start. This pandemic has really challenged that, but that's something that I had hoped we would see a bit more progress, but I know we can. Theater Charlotte is there for all of Charlotte. Yeah. Those are probably the two things, other than the fact that I couldn't direct every play.
Well, who wants to do that? Who has the time for that?
I certainly don't.
All right, we have a special guest that I wanted to bring on and just spend some time chatting. Let's welcome Angie Hayes, of the executive director of North Carolina Theater Conference.
Hi.
Hi, Angie. I was gonna give a shout out to NCTC.
Well, you
but I don't have
to.
Angie, what was your introduction to Ron? Tell us.
Oh, goodness. Well, I got really lucky because when I started this job at NCTC, I'm the executive director of the North Carolina Theater Conference. And I started in late June, and July 1, I was going to have new board members. So they were already in place for me. I didn't have a choice of who was coming on the board, and I got Ron in my first class. So Ron, Judy Dove were part of that first class that came on when I started. So we've been doing this together the whole time. But that was my first introduction. And I was trying to remember my first Theater Charlotte show, and I don't know that it was my first show, but I know that very early on I saw Seussical, which was very special because there's Chase and Chloe, and I think Ryan Deal and Stuart Spencer and all these people that have become great friends to me and to NCTC. And so anyway, that was my first introduction to Ron, and maybe my first show at Theater Charlotte.
I think it was, yeah.
So Ron has been on the NCTC board for a while.
I did that.
But he's been president. How many times has he been president?
So he has been on the NCTC board for 13 and a half years. And for 8.5 of those years, he has been our president. So wow. It's been a long, long run together.
What has
More power to you.
What has made him a standout to be? I mean, how has he become such a great leader?
Yeah, I don't know. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, seriously, I want to hear this too.
I think, when you are running a nonprofit organization, and there's a dynamic, there's a relationship between the staff and the board that's really tricky, because you have a professional staff, just as Theater Charlotte does. It's working every day on the mission and doing the work. But the board of directors is in charge of the organization. They're the governing body. They're responsible for the work as well. And so it's an interesting dynamic between the chief executive and the president of the board. You have to be able to be on the same page. You have to support each other. We kind of have some unspoken rules. We work together. We don't surprise each other with things out of the blue. We make sure we're always on the same page before we announce something. And he has just been my go-to person. And he wouldn't be president all this long if he didn't have the support of the board of directors. And we've had many board members over those 13 and a half years, but and there's the theater is my sport shirt, which is but the board just loves Ron. He is able to run our meetings with both sincerity and seriousness, but also levity. We laugh a lot. We have inside jokes. We do some drinking, but we get a lot of work done all at the same time. So he keeps it fun, but also keeps everybody on task. So over and over again, they have just.
How do you keep them on task?
Well, it's a team effort. It's a team effort.
Set a little timer and just giving that much time to talk.
Yep.
Ron, what has NCTC meant to you?
Oh man, that I could talk for the rest of the night about it. NCTC.
Okay, we'll give you about 2 minutes.
Okay, all right, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. The North Carolina Theater Conference means the world to me. It is the state service organization. It is an important organization in this state and in the country. It works for advocacy for all of our industry. It works for education, which is Chris is and Angie, a passion of mine. It is a huge advocate for education. I can't imagine what the last, how many years, 13 years would have been like without my involvement with NCTC. It has meant the world to me. And working with Angie has been incredible. And the board of the members of the board of directors over those years, a good group of people.
Excellent.
Was that good? Did I do it in 2 minutes?
Yeah, that was actually really quick. You still have some time.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I'm done. All right.
Angie, talk a little bit about what you think Ron's legacy it means, not only to Theater Charlotte and the Charlotte region, but also North Carolina.
Yeah, absolutely. Theater Charlotte is one of North Carolina's finest community theaters. The reputation around the state is incredible. Theater leaders from all across North Carolina know about Theater Charlotte, and a lot of that is due to Ron and his involvement with NCTC. Ron has been a lead speaker at many conferences. He's connected with people that run tiny theaters, large theaters, and everything in between. And he is always there when another theater leader needs guidance. So he has friends at every NCTC member theater across the state, and really has put Theater Charlotte on the statewide map if it wasn't already, and everyone loves Theater Charlotte. We have members and board members from all around North Carolina who consider Theater Charlotte to be their home community theater, even if they don't live in Charlotte. And that's a lot because of the outreach that Ron has done, but also the rest of the staff. You all are just incredible. I know this is a hard time. This is a sad time. The fire was devastating, but it's also an exciting time. You all have gotten through so much and done such incredible work. And Ron is leaving the theater in just such great hands with you, Chris and Jackie and Nancy, and y'all are positioned to come back stronger than ever. So I'm really excited. I don't remember what the question was now because I have circled.
Now you've fallen into my category. I start talking and I don't remember the question about 10 minutes later. Yeah.
That's good because then nobody else remembers anyway. And so we're all on the same page. Angie, do you have a favorite Ron moment?
Oh, God.
Well, I was thinking about this, and I think so when Ron started with NCTC, like many of the folks that run professional community theaters, so our board is made up of people that run theater companies, college professors, high school theater teachers, and one of our biggest programs is our statewide high school play festival. It's huge. We do a lot of things, but that's a big one. And so I think in those early years, I remember Ron saying, like, do we have to spend every meeting talking about the play festival? Like, it's just all we do is work on this play festival. Like, we do so many other things. And now you cannot pry Ron away from the play festival. And I was thinking about some of my favorite memories, and a lot of them we actually have pictures of, which is so incredible. And those are the moments when students that Ron has connected with over the years at the play festivals have gotten recognition from their peers and from industry professionals. I think about the moments when high schoolers that may not be able to, thinking they may not be able to attend college, win a huge scholarship at the play festival. And I don't know who's more excited, their parents or Ron Law. And has established relationships with students all across the state that he's met through the festival and stayed in touch with. We have students that are in college that still call Ron for counseling on what they should do next in their career. So in my mind, I think about all those moments. And many times at the Play Festival, Ron is up on stage reading out the awards. So he knows who's going to win. But sometimes he's not the one reading them out. He's the one handing them out. And he doesn't know who's going to win. And when those names are called, there's more cheering from the stage from Ron than there is from the audience. So I just, to see him interact with those kids, that has been magic for all of us. And I know we're all very proud of that program, but Ron thought he was coming on the board to help the professional community theaters. And now he has drunk the Kool-Aid for the Play Festival.
I have. Oh, and speaking of another moment, Angie,
yes.
I am wearing Crocs with socks.
Nice. Yeah, and that's another huge thing. You know, Ron, there's the leadership that NCTC provides around the state, but also our board provides leadership to the organization. And when Ron came on the board, we were not a fundraising board. We were a working board. We went out and worked events and, you know, made ends meet. And it became clear in those early years of us working together that we were going to have to mobilize the board to raise money. And we had folks on our board who were just absolutely terrified, had never been fundraisers before. And with Ron's help and the other leaders on the board, we have really grown as an organization. I think we've raised, you know, over $60,000 this year, which has helped tremendously for the industry through the pandemic. So Ron's leadership and fundraising and helping the board become comfortable with that has been huge and has helped really save NCTC.
Excellent. So Ron, do you have plans already lined up for retirement? What's next for you?
Well, I taught Robert Bush, who was the former president CEO of the Arts and Science Council, came by our gathering yesterday, and he said one of the things that you have to deal with is don't feel guilty. Take the first 6 months or however for yourself, and if you don't have something to do at a given time, don't feel guilty about it. That's really tough for me to think about. I will continue on until the end of June as president of NCTC, unless I'm out.
Busy.
Yeah, that will keep me busy. I have started making notes about something that I'm going to write. And also in Winston, we are moving to Winston-Salem, as you know. And it turns out that I used to live in Winston. This is probably my 5th time living there. And I went to school in Greensboro, and I taught in High Point, which is all the same area. I have a lot of connections in Winston, and my wife and her new job just happens to have a few connections as well. And so I think I will be able to continue to direct. I talked to 2 of the ladies from Three Bone Theater yesterday, and there is some interest there about me schlepping back to Charlotte to direct. And maybe Chris, someday, you know, you'll want to, you know, come back to have me come back, and you know, you can put me up in your basement, and I'll direct at Theater Charlotte. So
perfect. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost.
Where did Angie go?
I don't. Well, we'll give it a second. We'll give it a second to come back on. Jeez.
That was an abrupt exit. But you know, the technology, who knows?
Right. Yeah. So we sort of touched on this. I think you touched on it a little bit. But what do you see for Theater Charlotte moving forward? Where do you see Theater Charlotte going from here?
Okay. Onward and upward, as Tom Gabbard is wont to say. I think, you know, Theater Charlotte has positioned itself as Angie pointed out, one of the premier theaters in the state of North Carolina. And I think that once things are settled, once the building is back in good shape, and you know, I was over there one day when you were with your hard hat on and your the day glow jacket and whatever, working with one of the fellows. And he said, you know, once we get this rebuilt, once we get the new carpeting and everything cleaned and repainted, it will be better than it ever has been. And that's the key. You know, Theater Charlotte is a community asset. It's there for the community. It's not there for one person or two people. It is for the entire community and the entire region. And I think with the staff that we have and the leadership that you will provide, and Chris, I have to say, your artistic senses are as fine as any that I have worked with in my entire career, which goes back decades before you were born. Decades before you were born.
It means a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, and I started and ran an equity summer stock theater. I worked in it. I had to renovate and upfit this place. It was an old horse barn that had been a theater, but not for many, many years. And I remember being on my hands and knees, scrubbing pigeon doo-doo, you know, and that's the kind of spirit that I think that the people that support Theater Charlotte have. No one is above getting on their hands and knees, cleaning up pigeon doo-doo. We don't have any of that, but we do have, there's a lot of stuff to clean up.
Right.
And then once that building is ready, you guys will be ready to move in. It's probably the time, I think, or hope that the pandemic will allow this, and you will maintain that level of artistry that Theater Charlotte has become known for.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Angie. Hi.
Hi.
Angie took a little break.
Yeah.
Angie took a little break.
I had to refill my glass.
Yes. Well, mine's empty. It was full thanks to Tommy Prudenti from yesterday, but there you go.
Well, Angie, you're just in time. So final thoughts here. You know, again, this isn't the end. We're not, you know, Ron's going to be around. He's offered to, you know, he's a phone call away. He's an hour drive away. He's invited a lot of people over to his house when the time comes. So there'll be a big party at some point. But just final thoughts on, again, your relationship with Ron, what it means to the community and so on.
Well, I'm very excited for Chase in her new role in Winston-Salem, and I'm very excited to have them closer to me. I'm in Greensboro, so selfishly, I'm very excited. This is a great time for Chloe. She's doing such amazing things and can't wait to see what she does next as well. But it has been
driving right now.
Driving, yes. But it has been such a great pleasure working with Ron in this role at Theater Charlotte, and I know he's going to stay a part of NCTC for a long time. But you know, we started as colleagues, and he's become one of my greatest friends. So Ron, I just thank you so much for everything you've done for NCTC, for the statewide theater industry. I know all of our board members are watching at home, and they all wish they could be here to say thank you as well. We all love you. And we all love Theater Charlotte. And as I said, I know that you are leaving the theater in just such capable hands. And we all are here for you, Chris, Jackie, Nancy, for anything you need to help as well. And I'm excited to see what comes next. I know that, as I said, it's been a hard time, but it's going to be a great new season for Theater Charlotte on the other side of the rebuild, and I can't wait to see what you all do next. And thank you, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have to say, you know, you were talking about Chase's job, and I'm going to have to put a plug in for Chase a little bit. She is now the president and CEO of the Arts Council of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County. And that was the first arts council in the United States. And she is the first woman to hold this position. And I could not be prouder of her.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. I was sort of saving this. I skipped over, I sort of rearranged it. Ron, do you have a favorite moment from your time at TC? Favorite show, favorite experience, accomplishment, all of the above, some of the above?
Oh, good Lord. At 15 and a half years, there are so many things. I have to say that the development, and this goes to what Angie said about the high school play festival. And sometimes this has been a bug or a thorn in your hat, Chris, but the development of the Student Theater Guild and TC Junior, and the dedication, the quality of students that have come through that program. I just saw Renee Rapp had said something.
Renee.
Hi, Renee. Yes, you know, and you know, there she was in what was it? It was
Junior Cabaret was the first.
It was Junior Cabaret was her first. Then she was in Annie, and then she was in TC Junior. She was in Willy Wonka. And I think she played one of the moms, you know, and then she went on to Broadway. Yes, Leah Pierce, there is a Crybaby license plate back there, Crybaby being one of the shows. So those shows, and then, you know, about 3 or 4 years ago, I stepped in and started directing those shows. Jamie Varnador had done it for years, had established it, had done a great job. He moved out of town. I took over. I said, I'm going to do this for a year until we find somebody. Well, guess what? I couldn't help it. I loved it. And I'm just so proud of that. You know, we've done a lot of shows. You mentioned, Chris, in the book that you gave me about Diary of Anne Frank. That was a high point. Mm-hmm. That was back in the early days when we were still trying to forge ahead and get out of the bad finances and so forth. That was a great production. Grapes of Wrath, as I said before we went on air, there's no reason we should have been able to do Grapes of Wrath in that theater. I mean, there was a big old car, a big old truck traveling across the United States filled with stuff and people and so on.
On a race,
having to jump into
stage.
On a race stage, and I remember Vic Saya going, "Why the heck? What am I? How am I supposed to drive this thing?" And people having to jump into water, even though it did warp our stage a little bit, but we pulled it off. And the work, I'm so proud of the work that has been accomplished in the old barn on Queens Road, as Perry Tannenbaum calls it. You know, challenges are good. Challenge makes you think, it makes you work, it makes you creative. And when you come out right on the other side, and sometimes you don't, but I think more times than not, we have come out right on the other side. Ailey Finn says, don't forget dumping buckets of water on our heads, because backstage we had to dump water on their heads. And being able to do shows that we've done, like, Hair and the Full Monty, Avenue Q, shows that at the time that we did them were not necessarily typical community theater shows. And we did them with class, and we did them with taste, more or less. And I mean, how do you do Hair with taste? But we did them. And Rent, you know, we did shows and they sold a lot of tickets, and I'm just so proud of all the work that all of us have done. at Theater Charlotte. How was that?
Perfect. Right on point.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, I know your glass is empty, but anybody out there that's got a glass, this is my sweet tea.
I still have a little bit of scotch left in it.
All right. Well, chase it down. Congratulations, Ron. Thank you again for hiring me.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for taking the job.
But thank you for all that you've done for Theater Charlotte and the theater community and North Carolina. So thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right. Well, we will be in touch. There's no doubt about that. You'll
And stay involved with NCTC.
Will do.
And we will see you all at the theater, whether it is at the theater or wherever you are doing theater. We will
absolutely be there very soon. All right. Thank you, Angie. Angie Hayes with NCTC. And Ron Law celebrating how many hours and minutes? Are you counting it down now? I don't.
Well, it's 7:46, so it's what, 4 hours and 14 minutes.
There you go. All right. Well deserved. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Nancy.
All right. All right. So there you have it. Our special edition of TC at Home, celebrating Ron Law in his retirement. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, stay in touch. Stay tuned for upcoming programming at Theater Charlotte. We will be making an announcement later this week or next week regarding upcoming programming. We're excited about what lies ahead. So for everyone here at Theater Charlotte, Jackie, Nancy, Chris, Allie, thank you all. Have a good night.